Welcome to another episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Larry Mazza, former Colombo crime family made man, and he's an author, actor, all kinds of stuff on his resume. How you doing, Larry?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me on. Uh, and I'd say I'm an aspiring actor. I had a few good parts. My first one was in The Irishman, so I started at the top, but got a few more after that. So, and I'm waiting for one with Mike Madsen if this pandemic ever ends.
Yeah, man, it'll be good. I can't wait to see those. I've been
Yeah.
watching. I watched the Irishman, the hit scene, and I was like, damn.
Yeah.
It
Well, they
was
cut
good.
that down a lot too because it was a tough one. They had to keep breaking the mirror, and because I guess Anastasia, when he jumped out of the seat, he hit the mirror.
Yeah.
Trying to chase the shooters. So they sort of tailored out the shooting and everything. But hey, it is what it is. It was still a step in the door.
Yeah, I mean that's a big first step.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then working with Robert De Niro too.
De Niro, Scorsese. My wife actually got to watch him as he was filming the scene through the camera. He let her look through the camera too, so that was fun. And then ultimately Nick Pileggi, who's writing now. So yeah, no, what I called it back then? Cinematic royalty. That's what you can't get any higher.
No. So I got a bunch of questions for you. I want to start off with like how far, because everybody knows how you met Greg Scarpa and how things transpired. Right. So I want to know how long after you met Greg did he start involving you with things? How long did it take?
Well, like the first 2 years, don't forget, it was a year and a half was me and Linda. So then in the next 6 months, when after the first year and a half, those next 6 months, he brought me into the legitimate business. So I'd say, 2.5 years, little by little, once the legitimate business, the supply company that we owned, they owned and I managed, it just dissolved the company. They actually had a big fire, and I was in no man's land. So probably a little after 2 years, I got into the numbers business. And that's the lowest level business you could get into, and that's where it starts. And then little by little, you get deeper and deeper.
Yeah. So can you tell me of any situations that you were involved with that you haven't told anybody with Greg?
Well, not really. I mean, in one way or another, it's been told. I talked about the guy that called him a rat and he shot him right across the desk. We know about the one with little Linda. Then there was the one on 86th Street where one of two brothers, the first brother got killed just a few weeks earlier. And the second brother, I want to say Albie and Patty, their names were, threatened Teddy Persico Jr. So there was an open contract on this guy. And that's when we did on 86th Street, where it was just packed with people and cops. And it's amazing how we got it done and got out of there with no trouble.
What's going through your mind when you see you pull up and you see all these people around? Like what are you thinking?
We weren't going to do it. I mean, we pulled over and Joe Brewster, who was in the car with me, went to the payphone. We didn't have cell phones at the time, and called Greg and told him it's impossible. I said, there's cops on horses, they're on motorcycles, all over the place. That's, if 86th Street in Brooklyn, it's like that avenue where everybody cruises and locals hang out and there's music playing. It's just a big hangout, like you see
like the main street.
Right. Yeah. So but when he called Greg Gretz, his answer was, I'll be right there. And he got in the car, came, and we saw what he was doing. He was blocking traffic for us, so nobody could move. We made our move. About 12 shots later, we were leaving with the crash car and the shooters and everything like that. And he was following behind us right back to his house. So, but no, what's going through your mind is, how are we going to do it with cops all around? We don't get a shootout with them. I mean, it's pretty much, we didn't, we weren't crazy. Unlike today, we, believe it or not, respected the police. We didn't expect, we could just start shooting people and get away with it. But yeah, so that was one of the tougher ones.
So did they have like was a major rule not to kill innocent civilians?
Well, it certainly is a rule. Now, it's happened by mistake more than once, a couple of times that I know of. And during the war, uh, we were lucky enough not to do it, but and sometimes smart enough where we called things off. But the other side, arena side, hurt a few innocent people, two or three, and one was a major, the one with the kid, the innocent kid in the bagel store, who had nothing to even do with the war, and that really brought the feds in heavy. So.
Yeah. So is there any situations that when you were like working for Greg, that maybe you might have got yourself involved in, that you were like, oh shit, if Greg finds out, I'm in trouble?
Not really, because I had the nickname Legitimate Larry, so I wasn't really that gung ho on doing too many different things. Never got into drugs. I was doing, I had my the number business that I was part of. He knew early on I was real good with numbers, and I actually helped him grow that along with the sports business. And I pretty much, as I say, stayed in my lane. That's what I did. When they, so to say I did anything out of the way, I don't think I did. I really don't.
Yeah. So, was there a lot of people in your crew that were dealing drugs?
Well, if you mean my crew, the guys around me, no, absolutely not. I didn't think it made sense. We were doing fine with the sports, a lot less exposure. I didn't want to blow my sports business up. But yeah, there came a time where Greg Jr. had a really good idea, for that life, to tax all drug dealers. Why should they, every other crime is, you can't just be a bookmaker. You can't just be a Shylock. You can't just be a thief without kicking into the families.
Yeah.
So these guys were all out there making a fortune, more than we were making. And he started taxing them. And if they didn't pay their 25% or whatever it was, I think that was the percentage, they got hurt or killed. And this really escalated. And it got to the point where we were under constant surveillance at the club. And also the greed took over, where now they made a contact to supply to the dealers. So now it just became a whole new level. Now it was like, I used it a lot, Scarface. It became like Scarface. They had to buy from Scarface, and everybody had to pay Scarface, and it just got way out of hand. And it was the downfall for Greg Jr.'s crew.
Like, how do they pick the drug dealers that they tax?
They went after everyone, any and everyone. There's nothing they could do. They can't go to another made guy because drugs are taboo. They can't go to the law because drugs are against the law. So it really was a good idea, and
yeah.
I to this day, I think it was, it made sense almost. But once they overstepped it, and, I guess started moving, bringing and touching, it just became, and he knows that. I spoke to Gregory about that. We laugh about it now because he's home, and, we're able to talk about the mistakes, and, we agree on a lot of things. So even on that, I got to show this. My friend Glenn's going to watch this. You see what it says?
No, I can't see it.
Well, it's a coffee cup that says "The Life."
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, he bought it for me, so it was a little gift. So I want to let him know that I use it. I told him I'll use it on the podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah. So when the war's going on, the other side that you're dealing with, are you in constant communication with them, or did you cut off all communication with the other side?
Early on, we're actually playing both sides. I'm hearing myself on that side now. I don't know if that matters.
No.
Okay, but before I wasn't. And we were sort of in the middle, so we were going about our business. We weren't, nobody else was paying each other, but the arena side was paying us, and we were still doing business. But it came a time where they knew now we were on Junior's side, and then all business stopped, and there was no communication other than meetings that was supposed to be peaceful talks to try to put the thing back together. But Greg told whoever was going to the meeting, usually Carmine Cessa and Richie Fusco, that the first question you ask is whether they recognize Junior Persico as the boss. If they do, if they say yes, you continue talking and figure out the administration, how we're going to put it back together. If they say no, get up and walk out. There's nothing else to discuss. So if Greg was at the meeting, that's what would have happened. And if we were there with him, no, goodbye and good luck. But, you know, some of the guys that were at the meeting were weaker, you know, and not, Carmine for one, and not you know, I don't know about Richie Fuss. I don't want to call Richie Fusco weak. He was a man's man throughout the whole thing, but I don't think he got up. But Teddy Persico, for sure, he always brought back bad messages, and they didn't get up and walk out. So they entertained the conversation, and it just made things worse. They should have got up and walked out.
Yeah. So Carmine Cessa, he's on your side?
He was on our side, yeah. He was on the pick. Here's what happens. When a guy gets made, he has to be put under a captain. And typically a crew like ours, like Greg Scarpa had, big, you know, Greg Sr., we were powerful. The more good fellas Greg had under him, the boss would always worry. So they would take him away and put him somewhere else.
Yeah.
When Carmine Cessa got straightened out, they put him with Vic Arena, who was a captain at the time. And you know, Bobby Zam went also with Vic. Johnny Sapp went with, I want to say, Chucky Russo. Joe Sapp went with Wild Bill. They put him under these different guys to keep it equal.
Yeah.
And Carmine wound up with Vic Arena.
So was Carmine, how was he as a person? Was he was he unhinged, or was he like a calm guy?
Carmine was a very what's the opposite of personable? I don't know if unpersonable is a word, but he had had no personality. Like most of us guys had a sense of humor. Most of the guys could, you know, like to talk, and you know, he didn't mingle. He didn't talk. He was quiet, reserved. There's a word, retro something or retro something. I wish I could think of it. Very quiet,
like introvert. Like an introvert.
That's the word. Yeah, that's the word exactly. He was always to himself, and you know, when he did go with Vic, he disassociated with us. You know, and as he rose, you know, the captains, and I remember having conversations with Greg that, you know, I know Bobby Zam used to come around, and still Johnny Sapp, Joe Sapp, they were all still tight. We would see them every day, even though they were under other captains. Carmine moved out to Long Island. He had things like, look at me, I'm moving up. And I was always taught to not wave two flags, you know, and from Greg. So it always bothered me. And I'll tell you this, Vic couldn't have picked the worst consigliere because everything I just said. But he had a reason to pick him because he was disposable to Vic.
That's why I was like, why would he pick him as a consigliere?
A consigliere, people don't know. And Greg, you know, always taught me the inner workings. The consigliere, his number one job is to save lives. Okay? So if there's a beef and you get called by your consigliere at 2 o'clock in the morning, you have to trust that nothing's happening to you. You have to trust it. And a good consigliere, with respect, you'll trust. You'll get out of your bed. I always said, brush your teeth and go see the consigliere. Carmine, on the other hand, if he called me at 2 in the morning, my first call is to Jimmy. Get in the car and follow me in case something goes, you know, because I wouldn't trust him, you know. Yeah. And it's supposed to be an older, wiser, and it's a position for life. And I've never seen, I mean, in all my time, I never saw a consigliere get killed until Jimmy Angelina, which really blew up our family. Even when John and Sammy made their move, they didn't take out the consigliere. Eventually, he stepped down. They made a deal, and he stepped down. I think it was Joe Gallo, another Joey Gallo, that was with them. Maybe Joe Piney. I don't remember, but Joe Piney was another highly respected guy there that that got a pass, when they took over. So Consigliere, and Greg told me that's the best position to have in the family. Better than boss, better than underboss. You got all friends. Everybody trusts you. So Carmine, no right. But again, Vic did it knowing if he couldn't get all the captains to come over, it's the only way he could take over. It's got to be unanimous. He'd kill him and tell Junior that Carmine tried to take over the family. We had to take him out. Then they put another consigliere in, and they try another direction, another way. But that's exactly what they said about Jimmy Angelina, and it wasn't true.
So what year did the war break out?
Well, the shooting started in, I guess, late 90, 91, but there was a lot of things happening before. For about 2 years, Greg was telling me, and there was a couple of bodies, a couple of guys got hit, and it was sort of explained away, but Greg was convinced, and later on we know why. He was getting information, so he probably knew, maybe through wiretaps or whatever, but he told us years earlier, like two years earlier, that it's inevitable that we're going to be in a war soon. He knew. He must, again, he heard wiretaps, he saw things happening, but there were, like I said, there were a couple of guys that went that, they explained away in different, ways, but it was more with the plan, Vic Marina's plan to take over.
Yeah. So Cessa went to jail in 93, and then he got out in 97.
Yeah, well, Carmine made a deal before he got arrested. Okay, he had a deal with the feds, and he called for a meeting of 5 of his closest friends. Our underboss, Jojo, Chucky, a captain, Bobby Zam, who he grew up with, another captain, Richie Fusco, I believe there was another, and Teddy Persico. He calls a meeting. They go to St. Patrick's Cathedral. That's where the meeting is. As they're walking up the steps, they get surrounded by the feds. Okay? Wow. They all get thrown in. They get thrown in cars. The back seats are 2 cars, and then Carmine walked to another car. And it goes, you already had the deal made. So, yeah, but he had to stay in until all the cases were over or whatever. And I never, saw him again, and don't care if I ever do.
Yeah. Yeah. So when he got out of jail, you were still in the streets, right? He got out of jail in 97.
I went in at 92. I didn't get out until 2002.
Oh, okay.
Give or take with a few months off. Yeah.
I talked to a lot of people, so the times get a little mixed.
Yeah. I don't know exact date. I'm not real good with that. Like I said, even in my book, I'm not a historian. I tell it how I remember it. I may, I'm loose on that. If I was writing a history book, I'd go research newspapers and stuff, but I told my story from my head, from my heart,
Yeah.
But so I went in, in 92, I was gone, and he came in a little later because I think they let him stay out for a while on bail, and then he had to come in and do some time.
Did Carmine Persico or anyone from the other faction ever try to call you and say, hey, Larry, come over to our side. Just come with us. Forget about them guys.
Well, no, I was on the Persico side.
Or the other side, I mean.
Yeah, well, they did. And then won the biggest hit of the war, Nikki Black, didn't ask. He threatened me through my Uncle Albie that if I don't come over to the other side, he's going to kill me. So, the plan there was me and Jimmy were Greg's closest. The 3 of us together were inseparable. We know we'd never turn on each other. And if he could have broke us up and got me and Jimmy to come over, that would have left Greg with people, less trustworthy.
Yeah. And
he knew that. It's part of all that scheming and treachery and outmaneuvering. So we were doing the same thing. We didn't even care about getting Wild Bill. We wanted to get his men, because if we would get the men, it would break the foundation. He had a lot of good ballsy guys around him. Billy's hiding out somewhere. Not that he wasn't a ballsy guy, but he's hiding out. He's a big shot. Vic Marina's hiding out. So you got to get their men. They were going to do the same thing. But Greg wasn't hiding out. So they would have got us all together.
So when Nikki Black, is that the one that was hanging up the Christmas lights?
No, that was Wild Bill's cousin. And that was after they botched the attempt on Greg.
Mhm.
We knew he was one of the crash cars on the
Yeah.
scene, so he was certainly on our list among
Yeah.
others around Billy, and we just happened to run into him on our daily runs around. And it's funny, we Jimmy took a different route that day coming back to my pool room, and if he would have followed our secondary car, he would have
Yeah.
went another way, but he took a side street, and of course we spot the big black Lincoln, and we're looking and we see him hanging his Christmas lights. So we shot back around the block
He
because
doesn't notice you at all. He
no,
doesn't notice. No.
because he had no we had no backup car to hide us or crash car. We had a tape in the car, like masking tape. We were going to cover the license plate at least. We didn't even do
Yeah.
that. We went around the block and forgot. And I think it was a tough one. I mean, when people read it, there was Christmas music playing. He was hanging a wreath, but
Yeah.
it's stuff that you see in movies, but it was real life.
Where do you guys get the guns when you guys are out going to look for these people? Where do you get the guns? You got people?
Basically, we didn't have a lot of good weapons. We had all old revolvers. Little by little, we started getting more because one of Greg's sons was hooked up with a motorcycle gang out of Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
and we got some weapons from them, a little bit more advanced, like Mac Tech 9,
Mac 10, Mac 9, Tech 9, and Mac 10s and stuff.
and I would have ever knew those things. But then we also got a riot control shotgun that was right out of Lakewood police car out of Jersey. So that became my personal weapon during the war. So
yeah. So that's the one that you got Nikki Black with?
yeah.
Yeah. So when you guys are getting ready to get Nikki Black, was it all planned?
Well, he was our number one target at that point, but to find him, we didn't see him for months and months, for like 3-4 months of the war. We passed his club every day. Sometimes we'd see some, associates or underlings, whatever you want to call them. Sometimes we'd see somebody that was a bit of a target. But earlier on, that's where he shot Funzy and his, Nikki's nephew Joe T. But we hit a guy that was around the Shin's family by mistake, and he died. But he was in the door with them, and
so was the Chin mad that happened?
No, he had already told his men to stay away from Colombo clubs. And after it happened, give you an example of Carmine. When he heard we killed a guy around the Chin by mistake,
mm-hmm.
He came to see when we went to meet him and told him and this was happening. He fainted. I had to stop him from falling. I had to catch him.
Oh,
and
man.
Greg told him, he says, Carmine, that guy was a big boy. He shouldn't have been there. And
was he a made man?
Yes, he was. And we got the same message back from the Chin, almost the same exact words. He should have known better. He was a big boy. He should not have been there.
Yeah.
He couldn't hold us at fault. We're shooting. You should have been, if somebody was, they weren't hanging out with us,
Yeah.
It was a bad place to be. So anyway, to get back to Nikki, he happened to be near his club that day. I guess he was checking on a few of his businesses, and we got lucky. Or sometimes I say maybe it was divine intervention, even though it was a bad thing. The whole thing was bad. Somebody was on my side. It was kill or be killed. He was coming for me, so we got him first.
So with all the things that you've done in your life, do you live with regret?
Of course I do. I like to say this. I was never an angel before I got involved in the mob. I'm still not an angel. I'm never going to be an angel. I live a little bit to my own beat. I like living my way, but I do, of course, I regret. I think I could have been successful in lots of different things. I've been saying a lot lately that I didn't need that life to be successful or to get respect, because here I am. Nobody knows me in different places I go, and I really get the same respect when I go into a restaurant. Just maybe it's the way I carry myself, or maybe they do know. Maybe more people know me than I think. I don't know, and I'm a good tipper. I'm a good
probably.
tipper. So, but my gym does well. We had a restaurant that did well, my wife and I. I say this, and I don't want to say it like, to make people not like me or anything, but I do these podcasts and I keep selling out. I sell out books. Now I'm not selling millions of books, but for a guy that doesn't have a publisher, just a printer, and I got to keep ordering books, you know.
Yeah.
So, so obviously people are liking the book, they're liking the story, and you know, so maybe like, and I'll tell you this: twice in the last couple of years, I was in New Jersey. Just went to a restaurant. You could say the names of restaurants, right?
Yeah.
Houlihan on Route 35. And I'm walking in. My wife just dropped me off because I was going to meet a buddy of mine, and she was going to go to the shoe store across the street.
Yeah.
Walking in, and the guy stops in his tracks. He says, "Larry." I'm looking at him. I say, "Do we know each other?" He says, "Didn't you write for Life?" I says, "Come on, did you know I was coming here?" He says, "No, I recognize you." I wound up taking him inside, bought him a drink, got him a book, signed it for him, and he killed me. Now he's my friend on Facebook and stuff. And then it happened one more time. I thought they were kidding around. And but again, I don't think everybody does. I go into places. But my point is, you are what you are. If you're a good man or you carry yourself the right way, you don't need that life. And that's sort of, you know, I see a lot of guys that are, some of them are very genuine about it, like Johnny A. Light. He really has taken a path where he wants to help younger kids, and there's nothing wrong with that. Not, you know, Mike Francesi, I hear is the same way. He's actually a minister. I'd be a hypocrite because, like I said, I still march a little bit to my own beat, and but what my message is, you don't need that life. Don't think you need that for respect and money, because you don't, and you probably do better on your own. You don't have to kick up half of what you earn. You don't have to look over your shoulder for some up and coming guy trying to take what you've earned and what you've made. That's sort of what happened during the war. We weren't going to give somebody else part of what we had.
No, because then they take all your businesses that are making money, they take over them, right?
Put you on to somebody else, and he, you know, who knows how greedy he is. So yeah.
So are you at all worried about, like, so the people that you murdered in the past, are you worried about any of the people's families coming after you?
Well, I'm not, and I say it, you know, there's a few reasons I'm not. Most of them were involved in the war or in the life. Okay. It's not easy to kill. You know, most guys I know, you know, even Greg Jr. would tell you that. You know, as you go along in that life, it almost becomes second nature, but it's not easy to get to that point. I was never proud of it. You know, again, during the war, there was some that, you know, it was him or me, but I definitely, you know, regret it. There's remorse, you know, but it's a fine line. It's a fine line. You know, I don't want, again, because if you answer the wrong way, you know, the obvious question is, well, you're in the life, making all the money, you did it, you didn't care, and now I care. Well, when you're younger and naive, it's a little easier to get swayed into that.
Yeah.
I couldn't be swayed into it at this age with all my experience now, what I've went through, you know. So no, there's definitely remorse. You know, there's you know, like you know, or do I? But you said, do I worry about them? I don't worry about the mob guys because it was a life. You know.
Yeah.
As far as my deal with the government, a lot of guys walked out because of the corruption that I brought to the table. If I didn't bring that to the table, there's a lot of guys that, you know, was coming in.
What's some of the corruption that you exposed when you did the deal? What is some of it that you?
Well, I knew, you know, they came to me after, you know, I was trying to negotiate for a while, and we really had nothing to. I had nothing to offer them except to hopefully bring Jimmy in with me, and he was on board with me for whatever deal I would have made. But once it got exposed that Greg was bad, and they found out it was an agent, they knew I was his right-hand man. So I guess they spoke to my attorney and wanted to know what I knew about that. It's all I had, really, all I had to offer. And what I had was, I had phone records, I had the scanner information, I had meeting places that I took him to. there was a lot,
The riot shotgun.
Right shotgun. Yeah, we could get, he told me we could get FBI credentials if we needed them to dummy up an arrest to get one of our enemies. Plus a lot more. There was a lot, and they sent the top of the Justice Department. It wasn't regular FBI agents to see me. It was heavyweights out of White House, that type of stuff. And so going back to the original thing, a lot of those guys got to have that in mind, that I didn't. And the other ones, like you take the one that little Linda with that situation, I don't know that the guy deserved to die, but you shouldn't be, if you're 30-something-year-old, 35, 38-year-old guy, bring a 16-year-old girl to the park and possibly rape her. So he's no innocent victim either. The family should just mind their business, Now, if I had killed somebody for money or for something like that, I'd definitely be looking over my shoulder. Or just because I wanted his business, whack this guy so I could take his business. But none of it, never did any of that. It was all within the rules of the life and the war. So, but going back to the corruption now, sort of tied those two together. It turned out that it was an alleged agent. I don't want to mention his name. I mean, everybody knows it. I don't need to slander him because on a technicality, he beat it. The New York Supreme Court judge made it clear that he didn't think he was innocent and thought that him and the prosecutors and the government totally mishandled their informant and gave him, that carte blanche. The guy took the stand. Now, if you're a bad agent and you take the stand on behalf of a case, you're lying, and everybody knows you're lying. So it's just a thing. It turned out bad, and most of them are all separated now. The agents are all different places. The prosecutors are gone.
So when you were in the streets, Sammy the Bull was in the streets at that time, right? Yeah. So did you have any run-ins with him or any dealings with him?
Yeah, we didn't have run-ins in a bad way. We were friends. We played racquetball at the same club. We did some light boxing at the same club. And I say light because he didn't like to lose. Now, I'm not saying I would have beat him, but I don't want to take that chance. So we sort of just, sparred lightly, and he enjoyed that. I used to go in a couple of his places, and I did business with more than probably a half a dozen, bookmakers that were under him. So occasionally I'd meet at his club, to take care of business with these guys. And we got along. He was way above my head as far as life is concerned, but he used to be a Colombo guy. He was a Colombo guy at one point.
Yeah. So after everything's said and done, how did you feel when you heard that Sammy the Bull ratted on John Gotti and all these other people?
That was like an atomic bomb went off. Okay. The streets, the shock, it was almost like,
unbelievable, almost.
It's a Twilight Zone. Yeah, you would never think that, but it shows you the survival, the treachery, whatever it is. John did a lot of bad things too, but he never ratted. And if you want to give him a medal for that, he deserves it. But you can't give him a medal for his flamboyancy when all the other bosses told him stop. Being on the Time magazine and wearing $5,000. So, all of those things are no good. He did some other things, not to slander him, that were against the rules. And, Sammy told me not too long ago, he says, John did more damage than 10 Sammy the Bulls.
Yeah.
So, but again,
I think he did too, but Sammy did tell on a lot of people.
Yeah, he did. And, you get a hand dealt to you and you play the cards. And I guess, he, at that point, something triggered in his head that I'm not doing life for this. I was working on a plea deal. They went from 25 to 22. And I remember the last thing we left off, my guy said, we'll take 15 and bring Jimmy in too. And we were waiting for them to come back. They never came back with an answer. So if I would have got set, I did 10. So if I would have negotiated 17, I would have done it. And jail didn't destroy me. It didn't bother me. It didn't kill me. I wasn't rolling up in bed crying every night. I read. I worked out. I ran. I played basketball. I played handball. I filled every minute of the day with a healthy practice to put the years back on, and saying when I get out, I'm going to be better, So it wasn't, the jail that broke me. My family, being away from them, and knowing what I did to my son. And I said, he's 1 year old, 1 year old when I went away. I says, I'm not going to see him till he's 20. And I'm saying, for what? My boss is a rat for 30 years. My consiglieres are rat. 4 or 5 captains are rats. And I was buried. There was nothing I can give them. They knew everything. I had too many heavyweights telling them. It's not that I could come in and say, hey, there's one more murder. They knew everything. But I was lucky when the corruption came out, and they offered a lot of guys deals. And some guys won their cases, including Alley Boy.
Because you could still be in there now. That would be if you didn't get the deal, right?
Yeah, no,
possibly.
I think I would have won. Yeah, I think they would have came back with something. We said 15. 18 looked like the number, and 18 you do a little over 15. Yeah. But who knows? But the difference wasn't that much. It was. Everybody. When these superstars come in and just do, just expose everything right off the bat and make the prosecutors' lives easy. They get short time, in and out. But
So when you were in jail, did people give you a lot of respect?
I never had a problem. The only time I had problems in prison was on the basketball court, because I was a very good basketball player, and I had, very racially motivated, everything in prison, So I had a lot of black guys that enjoyed watching me play, because my youth came back. I was training, I was lean, I was running fast, and I was 32, 33, I'm 60 now. But then I was, I could shoot. I passed behind my back, and they took it like I was showing them up or something, and I wasn't. I give them a head fake and hit a jump shot, or fake it, drive around them, dish it. I was really a good basketball player. I was an all-star all the way through high school. And so a couple of times I would get challenged on the court, and there'd be basically a quick swing out. It wasn't an ongoing feud, and it wasn't knives and shafts and things like that.
So you had a bunch of fights in there?
I had 2 or 3 on a basketball court. That's the only place. But we how we get into that about the what was your question?
I asked you if you got a lot of respect when you were in prison.
No, I did. And it's funny, towards the end, I like to tell this story, and I've told it a lot, and I won't use his name. And if I slip ever, please edit it out, since we're not live, because I don't want to this guy.
No, we're not live.
My last 2 years, I was in Yazoo, Mississippi, and the place was a garbage. I mean, it was one of the worst places. But that was my last 2 years, so they were sending me off. I was hoping to go to Florida. They wouldn't send me there. So anyway, in comes, I'll call him Buddy, and he is slated to be the next boss of one of the families, and gravitates to me immediately. We're walking the track together, and I remember telling him, stopping him in his tracks and saying, Buddy, I says, I didn't go out like a hero. He stopped me and he said, I know everything about you and Jimmy. He started spitting, kicking dirt. I mean, he was pissed. He says, Greg Scarpa ruined you and a lot of men, and he ruined his whole life. So he knew a lot more of what Greg did over the years than I knew, even then. Yeah. And he said, you and Jimmy were 110% loyal. You were fit. Says, I don't want to hear about it. So we walked together every day. We played little cards. We ate together. We hung together. A few months later, Jerry Capisi writes an article about me. And for the whole 8 years, he was amicable towards me. He never said anything bad. He wrote about me. He said whatever, but never, really slandered me in any way. Anyway, it's a bad article came out. And he wanted to write my book. Well, I was away. I was on the phone with him. He said, I'd like to write your story. I said, let's wait about 10 years and then we'll sit down together. I don't want to in prison. What kind of deal could have I made, So anyway, this article comes in. Somebody sends it to Buddy. and that's obviously not his name. And he looks at the article and he shows me. He brings me into the bathroom. That's where a lot of meetings and stuff take place. He brings me in the bathroom. He shows me the article. He rips it up, throws it in the toilet, starts kicking the toilet to flush it like over and over, spitting at it. They either wanted him or him to have somebody do something to me, and he would have no part of it. So even there, I had a respect from a guy that, I was really hoping he wouldn't go back to the life, but I've read, I don't know for a fact, I read that he went back and he is number one, but I was hoping to meet him in Florida.
So he's number one now.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about.
Well, you may, but I says, I don't want to.
Yeah. So you were still getting respect from people that were in the organization.
Yeah, I was around lots of people. Now, they kept us all separated. I mean, even when I was in protective earlier on, like they would move me if somebody else came in, or they wouldn't even let me and Jimmy be together. I don't know why, but I do know why.
Come on, man. I could probably figure out why.
They figure exactly. It was but me and others too. And then, then all of a sudden I'd come across somebody like this, and earlier on, I would cross somebody else. So
did you get any threats? Any threats?
No. Because the truth of the matter is, like I said, there's a long list of guys that did a lot of damage, a lot more than I could ever have done, Yeah. And if you really want to go that route, start with them. Start with the Carmine Cessas and whoever else, you want to name. Yeah. And I picking him out because obviously I have an axe to grind with him. He was the first one in my life. Well, not really, but
is he around now still?
He's in the street somewhere. I mean, I haven't heard he died. I haven't heard, but he did get in trouble in the program.
I'll try to see if I could get him on the show.
I don't think so.
No, I'll try.
Well, listen, I doubt it. But I tell you what, his brother Michael is doing a lot of time, and hopefully he gets a little break because I just heard that they are going to resentence him because there was a law that was misconstrued when he got sentenced, and it's changed now, so he has a good shot to come home. You may be able to get to talk to him someday. Hopefully,
that would be great.
He's paying a lot. He's been in 30 years. Yeah. And my term is for some of these guys, I use it a lot. Enough is enough. Especially after you gave Carmine a pass, his older brother who ruined his life. You want to give this guy no light at the end. Let him go. Let him go at his age. He's 62 or whatever, 61. Let him go. He's not going back to the life. He's going to leave like I did, and he's going to go watch his kids, whatever he can, whatever he has left.
Yeah. So I know you don't have a lot of time. So do you want to tell the people what you got coming out in the future?
Well, yeah, I will. There's a couple of things. Everybody knows that I have Nick Pileggi on board. Nick is not a young man. So, obviously we can't rush him. And with the pandemic, that sort of held things back. But I believe there'll be other writers in there working with him, including myself. So that's coming. I can't wait for that, whether it's a TV series or a movie. I think it's going to be a TV series because there's a lot of character development. There's a lot of other stories that could be brought in. A book is what it is. I had to get from the start to the end without driving people too many different directions. So that's all good. There's a few other shows I'm going to be part of. My producer wants to do a show on gambling, and I'm going to host it. So it may be like a once a week show starting this upcoming football season. Because I was an expert in that business. So it would be a good fit. I got a lot of good stories to tell and a lot of good gambling tips and things like that. So I may be in some other things with him too. He's also working on the Mob Cops. His name's Joe Paletto. And he's doing the Mob Cops with Terry Winter, and Tommy Dades is a dear friend. We could probably do a show, me and Tommy Dades with you. We just
that would be great.
His ex-bosses on the NYPD. No, ex-partners, other detectives. So that would be a good show because we have a funny story. We grew up together and then went different ways. So, but we're still friends to this day. So,
definitely. I could have a bunch of people on.
And we'll come back, and maybe I could bring somebody else on somewhere along the way.
Yeah, that would be great, man.
Make it a little different. Like I said, I've been out there a lot lately, and I'm glad you brought in different things. That was really good. So, you know, we'll come back again, maybe me and Tommy.
Yeah, definitely, man. I look forward to that.
I've got another one in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Do you want to plug your book, The Life?
Well, yeah, I do. It's called The Life, and you can get it at www.larrymazza-thelife.com. I self-published myself. I did everything myself. So to retain the rights, which is hopefully going to pay off now. So that's the only way to get it, or the Kindle version on Amazon. But you don't get pictures, and I sign every copy that goes out.
Awesome. All right, man. So next time, so make sure you hit the like, subscribe, notification bell so you could get my videos every time they drop. And I want to give a shout out to Hootie282, Joanna, Sammy, the Chin, and Joey. And until next time, man.
Say hello to Hootie for me.
I will.
All right.